Hello friends, once again you all are welcome in my YouTube channel. Hope you all are doing well. So without wasting any time, let us start the second part of my third lecture on Renaissance poetry. In the first part, I discussed Elizabethan sonnets and sonneteers. If missed, the link is given in the description box. So friends, let us start Elizabethan lyric and satire in details. Like sonnet, lyric was popularized by White and Surrey in England during 16th century or Elizabethan period. In Tortoise Miscellany that was published in 1557, White and Surrey were the chief contributors. Like other forms of poetry, lyric has Greek origin. In ancient Greece, lyric as a song to be sung to the accompaniment of a lyre. Lyric is a short musical composition with an expression of poet's single emotion. It is a subjective poem. Since Elizabethans were the fond of pun and word play, they were the masters of art of investing words with the highest musical quality. They were the champion of verbal melody. Lyric appeals to the heart, and poet wishes to convey his message swiftly and musically. So songs in musical are known as lyric. But we also use the term loosely to describe a kind of poem in order to distinguish it from narrative or dramatic verse of any kind. For lyrical composition, we also use the term rhythm of song. Instead, rhythm of speech. Rhythm of song means lyrical composition, whereas rhythm of speech means poem is written in a conversational tone. Let us discuss the structure of lyric. As discussed in B. Prasad's A Background to the Study of English Literature, lyric can be divided into three parts. Corresponding to the three moods when inspired by some emotion, lyric has three parts. The first part is the state of emotion. This part you find in the few opening lines of the poem, where poet puts some emotions. Then we have the second part, thought suggested by emotion. And this is the main part of the poem. In this part, poet reaches to the intensity of emotion, and because of this, expression reaches in its highest pitch of eloquence. Then we have the third part, the mood of reason. The third part is the last stanza, generally last stanza or the few lines before closing of the poem. Unlike the first two parts, the closing part of the poem tends to be intellectual. It is a pointed summary. In closing part, poet generally gives intellectual conclusion or convey the judgment which is marked by reason. That is why lyric is a well-knit poem, because of its definite structure. Now, it is time to discuss famous contributors, famous lyricists of the period. Because of them, Elizabethan period is called Golden Era, a nest of singing birds, a revival of the cult of beauty, a beauty of art and literature. So next to the drama, the lyric was the chief glory of Elizabethan period. Sweetest songs of all occur in the drama of period. Christopher Marlowe was famous as a poet in theatre because of his lyrical passage, because of using rhythm of song in passages. Countless books on music were published. Thomas Campion's Book of Airs was the most popular. It was an age of poetry and romance. New wonders were being discovered almost every day. The poet lived and wrote against a background of magic and enchantment. The atmosphere was surcharged with romance. silver poets of the 16th century like Sir Philip Sidney, Sir Walter Raleigh, John Davies, Wyatt and Surrey, and some other writers like Thomas Campion, Daniel, Michael Drayton, and William Shakespeare are some of the foremost lyricists of the age. So friends, most of the lyricists, most of the poets I have already discussed in my first part of video, but some other writers like John Lilly, Thomas Lodge, Thomas Campion, William Shakespeare, Ben Jonson, these writers also contributed in the field of Elizabethan songs and sonnets. So let us discuss the first writer, John Lilly. John Lilly, he was one of the university wits and he was noted for his style. He was first among the Elizabethan to introduce lyrics into his plays. It is quite surprising that Lilly began his literary career as a prose romancer, and who wrote all his plays, but one in prose could write such delightful songs. His masterpiece, Effuse or Anatomy of Wit, is best known for its lyrical quality, for its lyrical passages. His other work, Alexander and Campaspe, is also notable for its lyrical passages. Then we have another important lyricist of the period, Thomas Lodge. Most of his lyrics are contained in the sonnet sequence Phyllis and his prose romances Rosalind. William Shakespeare's As You Like It is based on Thomas Lodge's Rosalind. Then we have William Shakespeare. His lyrics appear in his plays to suit the occasion in each. And some of his best known plays, which is famous for lyrical passages like Love's Labour Lost, The Merchant of Venice, Much Ado About Nothing, As You Like It, Twelfth Night, etc., etc. Then we have another important writer, Thomas Campion. In his observation in the art of English poesy, Thomas Campion, attacked the use of rhyme in poetry, as Sidney and Spenser had done earlier, and yet like them too he wrote beautiful verse in rhyme, but Thomas Campion attacked. The English spirit was too strong in them, and all to be overcome by their newfound taste, that is the taste of the Latin literature, the taste of the lyrical passages. Campion's lyrics are contained mostly in 3 books of songs: a book of airs, 2 books of airs, and the 3rd and 4th book of airs. And one of his famous lyric is There is a Garden in Her Face. Then we have another important writer, Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson, like his contemporary, he followed the fashion of introducing songs into plays. He wrote 3 separate books of non-dramatic verse entitled Epigrams, The Forest, and Underwoods. And some of his best known lyrics we find in these 3 books. After the drama, poetry was the second dominant literary form in Elizabethan age. Songs and sonnets were written independently and sometime introduced in plays and sometime in prose romances. Elizabethan lyrics are blended, the aroma of antiquity and the secret of modernity. Sidney, Wyatt, Surrey, Raleigh, Drayton, Campion, Daniel, Dyer, Spenser, Ben Jonson, Lilly, Green, Thomas Lodge, and William Shakespeare made Elizabethan age as a nest of singing birds. So friends, let us talk about satire of the Elizabethan period. Some regular satires were written during Elizabethan period, chiefly by the four writers: Gascoigne, John Donne, Joseph Hall, and John Marston. But sometime satires was also introduced into poems of different kind and drama. So in this way, Wyatt's satirical verses of the courtier's life appeared in Tottel's miscellany of songs and sonnets. Spenser's Mother Hubbard's Tale is an allegorical satire on the abuses of the court and the church. Thomas Lodge, A Fig for Momus, addressed to the god of the satire. Ben Jonson, he also wrote satires, The Poetaster and The New Inn, to attack his rivals or his dictators. But during the period, satires were written chiefly by the four, and the first writer is George Gascoigne. George Gascoigne's famous satire is Steel Glass, and it is considered perhaps the first regular satire in English. Then we have the second important name, John Donne. John Donne, he was a metaphysical poet, but he also wrote satires during this period. He was a prolific writer, famous for writing three kinds of poetry: the amorous, the religious, and the satirical poems. After Donne, we have another important name, Joseph Hall. Joseph Hall's important satire is Virgit Mearum. Virgit Mearum consists of 6 books of satires. The first 3 he called Toothless, and the last 3 he called Biting. After Hall, another important name is John Marston. John Marston's chief book of satire is The Scourge of Villainy. This book gave him a recognition as a famous satirist of the period. So, friends, these were the famous satires and the satirists of the period. So, hope you enjoyed the information. Bye for now. Keep reading and take care.